what are some of the flags to look out for after a really nasty one when people have been like, I don't know, in the next year I need to replace my roof. But if you consistently have bad weather, what are some of the warning signs that you're like, you better pick up the phone and call somebody?
A lot of stuff is just, again, like looking up at your roof and seeing if something doesn't look like it's laying down flat, if it's lifted, if it's missing. Those are huge things, because one of those key components is missing on your roof, you're going to eventually have a problem.
And let's talk about the seasons in Pennsylvania. Is there certain things you should be tackling around your home during each season that you recommend to keep up on it?
Yeah, when the springtime and fall time, that's your best time to do your maintenance, your pruning, your trimming. You don't want to do any trimming or pruning in the middle of the summer when things are in bloom, because then you're cutting off all your blossoms, and it takes a while for that plant to regenerate and come back.
What are your hacks or tips, I guess, just when it comes to like tackling a closet?
I tell all my clients, you need to get all the same hangers, and I recommend a certain type of hanger. It's the Amazon non-slip. I love the ivory ones. It makes your hanging items, clothes, look very seamless.
Hey friends. It's the Ryan Leckey Show. Welcome to the Ryan Leckey Show. Hey, what is going on, fam? And welcome back. Today's episode, we have some amazing guests on the show. We're tackling everything to level up your home improvement game. For the people who maybe aren't great at DIY, some pros have some great news. You can use tips to help you take your home maybe from boring to bam. And we're going to start with the one thing that sometimes always impacts the sale of a home, the value of a home. And it's one thing you can do today simply by looking up. And if you're like, what do you mean look up? Yeah, we're talking about your roof and the guy who knows roofs better than anybody I know in Northeastern Pennsylvania, Mike Graci, on the show today.
How you doing
Oh my
today?
gosh, I almost went really Italian on your last name. You say it one more time. Go ahead.
Graci.
Graci. I was almost
right.
like, You're like, slow down, Italy boy. You are with ShingleMe Now.
Correct.
And ShingleMe is based out of Hamlin. And we're going to go into the story how you started this roofing company that's really like blown up. You guys work at lightning speeds. I've seen it. You do incredible work. And full disclosure, you and I got to meet because you hired our marketing agency to do your stuff. Right. But man, as I always say to a lot of my clients, I didn't know anything about roofing when we started that much. I know how to like get your message out there, but I learned so much from you. But let's just unpack this. When we say look up at your roof, if you're looking to increase the value of your home, why is that so important, and why do people like ignore it?
Well, it's money they don't want to spend. I mean, we're in the business of the worst exterior or actually home improvement that you can do. I mean, people would rather put money into a bathroom or a kitchen or a deck or a pool, not the roof. And it is the most important part of your home, but nobody really wants to spend the money on it.
Yeah, they don't want to do it. But how many times I've met so many friends, I'm sure you have too, who are like, oh, my home, the inspection didn't go well, I'm ready to sell my home because the roof's a hot mess.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, I guess the thing is, before you feel like, oh my gosh, I have to invest in a new roof or whatever, what are your like top 5 tips or warning signs to look for, maybe before you call a roofer for some expert help?
Yeah, you're going to probably, when you were saying about looking up, you can get a lot of information by just looking at your roof. You can start seeing, forms of damage just by, curling shingles to missing shingles to granule loss. It could be on your sidewalks and your gutters, ridge caps missing, moss, algae streaking, dirtiness. Those are signs that the roof is, towards the end of its lifespan.
And I think, Mike, sometimes people are guilty of this. They literally wait until like a rainstorm is just blowing through the roof. How does kind of jumping on some of those projects, like when you said the shingles peeling back, et cetera, start jumping on those early? Is that more cost effective for a homeowner? Could you spend maybe a little bit now instead of like a ton later?
Yeah, that not only cost effective, but just the inconvenience. Because if you do have a really bad storm come through and it makes a mess and you have a really bad leak, not only is it, you're going to have to probably pay insurance deductibles, but you have the inconvenience of your house is a mess. And right now it is hard to get contractors to come and do a small job or fix a drywall repair. So that inconvenience, I think, is worth money as well, that you are going to have to then, put yourself at an inconvenience until you get your house back together. So not only is it just, the spending the money, but then that whole thing of seeing that hole or that, or being under construction for a while. People don't like that.
And what would you say, what are the key factors, I guess, when choosing the right roofing material for your home? Because you guys deal with asphalt shingles,
yeah.
but you probably get questions like, why shouldn't I get a metal roof? Why don't I get this? Like, how do you advise people who might be thinking of doing the whole thing over?
Yeah, I mean, asphalt shingles are probably, I would say the most popular in this area. And it's, I think it's the best bang for the buck when you look at the cost of things. Metal roofs are good, but at the same point, there's a lot of different factors that go into metal roofs. Really high, heavy gauge metal could be very expensive. They're louder, especially when it rains. They are significantly louder. I know personally, I have a couple metal accent roofs on my own home, and they are loud. And I know it sounds silly too. I mean, it's funny how it kills cell phone reception. So I mean, if you're working from home and you got a lot going on, a metal roof can hurt that.
That's something people don't think of.
No,
So when you're getting
this
your roof,
day and age, it's
metal,
crazy.
yeah, metal roofs might look really cool, but they could hamper the cell phone reception.
Yeah, and with metal too, I mean, it's to each his own. I mean, some people might not like that look. So on a resale value, if you put a metal roof on a ranch home, sometimes it just doesn't seem like it flows with the house, and that could hurt you in the long run. And metal fades, so you have to worry about the fade resistance and the warranty on the actual color. But there are some advantages with it as well. But for us with selling, asphalt shingle roofs only, we back everything up with our labor and our manufacturing warranties, and that's up to like a 50-year warranty.
That's
on
insane.
materials.
50 years. I want to come back because the $1 million question people probably have. When they say, oh, you know what, I'm going to patch this wall, maybe I'll do something in my kitchen. People avoid their roofs because the biggest thing people say is doing your roof is so expensive, right? So what's an average cost of a roof these days, and how do you kind of help calm people's fears about that?
Yeah, I mean, average cost is very difficult because, we can go from anything to a lake house, like very small house, to a house in, maybe a very nice development like a Glen Morrow or a Harmony Hills. And, it's all based on the square footage. The bigger the house, the more money it's going to be, obviously. And it is a lot to take. I mean, we do offer a lot of different ways to pay for it with our financing programs, and we take credit card, all that kind of stuff, cash, check, all that.
But the average cost of a roof, this is where I think people get set off. What would you say?
Man, that's
Could
tough.
it be $8,000 and up, 10 grand?
It could be. It's usually over. Right now, it's usually, I would say, in between the 12 and 15 usually for a full rip off and replacement for an average home. I mean, it could. Plus or minus a little bit, yeah.
I think the thing is as well, so obviously people even in my neighborhood ended up calling you guys. And I think the cool claim to fame for you that you always prided yourself when you started this company, in 2016? 2015
Yep.
is that you want to get in there, you want to get it done right away and get out of there. Like
Right.
there are so many people who sometimes I think say, oh, I'm going to go with this cheaper cost. Then they hire these fly-by-night contractors who say they're going to come do the job. Maybe they'll show up for a hot second during the day and then they don't come back.
Right. And with us, we want to be able to get in, get out. We want to, obviously, sell somebody a very good product and a good service. And we also try to get the trust with those clients that, listen, we're going to go in there, bang the job out, and pay us when we're done. And I think that's, helps them get a little bit more comfortable knowing that they're not just going to hand out a deposit to somebody and they take it and God knows when they're going to get their roof installed. So with weather and all different factors going on, it's nice to just be able to say, listen, we're going to get in on Tuesday. We'll be done Tuesday afternoon. We'll do our walkthrough on Wednesday, pay us, and we're done. As long as you're happy, you can pay us.
I think something that relieves people as well is like when you work with somebody, say those summer storms, right? They blew your roof off or whatever. You work with a lot of people's homeowners insurance and say, hey, let us take the stress off.
Yeah, the insurance companies will have their adjuster give us a call, and then we try to meet with the adjuster and go over what happened, what type of damage is in there, and see what costs we can cover and help cover it with the insurance company.
All right, so say your roof isn't completely in need of a full replacement. What are things you can do to prolong the life of your roof? Because I think none of us ever think about it.
Yeah, and that would be probably hiring like a company like us that has a service department to just do an inspection. A few $100 every so often is not a bad idea. Because I don't really recommend homeowners getting on the roof and doing any type of maintenance. Sometimes homeowners think they're doing things the right way, and then they can make it worse. because they have the lack of experience, plus the danger of being on a roof if you're not comfortable on it.
Yeah,
so,
I was just gonna say you're not getting me up there. No way.
So I mean, I would just, preventative maintenance would be more or less to give us a call, and we can kind of go through and say, hey, I noticed these type of things. We can correct it on the spot, or we could just give you basically a consultation, of where you're at, how much longer your roof is it gonna, last another 5 years, 10 years? These are some things you should start budgeting for down the road. Like, hey, in 3 years, you're probably gonna need a roof. This is a good time to start saving so you can be prepared for it.
Let's give people some news you can use content as the expert of like the roofing industry, right?
Yeah.
So if people don't live in this area, maybe out of state, and they come across this, what are the 3 to maybe the 5 things you need to ask a contractor who's going to be replacing your roof to make sure you're not getting screwed?
First, I would find out if they're certified with one of the major manufacturers, just so that you can get the strongest warranty through the product that's getting put on. Obviously, insurance is huge. Make sure that they have workers' comp and liability insurance, and those 2 things are no-brainers. Find out if they have a service department, because I think that's a big deal. Some of these contractors, if they're on site, working all day, they don't, and there's an issue, like say they have a leak or a callback. They're not going to want to have to wait for that. There's an issue, like if your sink's leaking, you're not going to want it to keep leaking. You want somebody there. And,
right.
When we can get out, within a relatively quickly amount of time, I think that's a big thing for people to have.
And in the day and age, too, where a lot of people are trying to be more environmentally conscious, are there any roofs or things you recommend for people that might, I don't know, keep the heat in better, or the AC, or like, what does that all entail?
I would say roofing product right now, unless you're getting into like the solar tiles, locally here, there are some reflective shingles. It's not really a market up here that's really taken off, more maybe in the southern states. And then you only get governed with a couple different colors, so that can kind of like make things difficult for people. The biggest thing I would say is make sure your home is insulated properly and ventilated properly, because then you'll get the most out of your roof, the lifespan, and the energy cost moving forward.
Got it. Now let's talk about, I guess, different climates, right? So people who might see this live outside of Pennsylvania.
Right.
Are there different roofs made for different parts of the country?
No, not really. There's some
like, I think wind and then snow in some parts.
Some of the areas down south have different inspections that you need to have different types of underlayments and barriers and nailing patterns that might, where there's more tropical storm weather events that might happen, say down in like Miami, they have a different building code than we would up here, but the product is the same. If you buy a Owens Corning architectural shingle in Florida or Montana or Pennsylvania, it's all going to be the same product.
Okay, let's back in now really quick. So we've talked about sort of the tips, obviously, for people looking for a roof, what the red flags to watch out for, et cetera. How did you even get started in the roofing business? Because you founded the company ShingleMe Now, which is based in Hamlin, Pennsylvania. You guys go all over Northeastern Pennsylvania and beyond. How did you do it? Because tell me where you started, because you grew a really big team.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got my father got me a summer job when I was like 19, and I worked with this contractor, a good friend of mine to this day, and I quit college and just decided to work every single day now for the rest of my life. And, after working with him for a few years, I ended up going to Johnson School, getting a 2-year degree there in carpentry and cabinet making, and then started doing general construction for a few years. And our primary business was kitchen and bath remodeling, and I kind of started this as a way to make some extra income. And a couple of life events that went through with some of our people, and I needed to kind of build both businesses at the same time, and it just kind of took off. We started to do a good job for people, and we got our name out there, and it just every year has been a little bit more and more growth, and it's been fun building it. It's been a challenge, but it's been a lot of fun building a big team and being able to service people. And it's nice selling a product to somebody that you believe in. You're not only the product, but the service. Our group of people that work for me are fantastic people, and their hearts are all in the game. And it's nice when you get a customer call us and they compliment who was on your job and how nice the office manager was, and our walkthrough person was just very courteous and, helped her maybe go out and get the mail. So everybody is in this, not just as, us, we're in the service industry of selling roofs, and, we look at it as more of a customer service group more than just selling roofs to people.
You mentioned obviously coming up with the name. So it's obviously ShingleMeNow.com is the website.
Website, yeah.
A lot of people will be like, hey, that's Shingle Me down the street. They're doing my neighbor's roof. How did you come up with that name for your roofing business? Did you toy with it for a bit and be like, maybe this name, maybe that name?
It was funny. I mean, just watching TV and some shows, I ended up just listening to, it was a show called Bar Rescue, and I remember John Taffer.
Watch it all the time.
Yeah. The guy was just always like, how could you have a Irish bar and you have an Italian name on it, or you're selling pizza at your Irish bar? Like, you need to brand what you are selling. And I just thought it was catchy and just kind of put it together because it makes sense. Like, it was just Shingle Me. Like, that's what we do for a living.
That's really cool. And you have built it. How many people did you start with in the company, and where are you now?
I started solely on my own, then went to 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then up to 12. And then we have a group of contractors that work with us. So it's a good amount at this point.
And I think like any industry, whether it's, lawn care, medical aesthetics, everybody sees the peaks and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
For you, COVID was insane because everybody was home.
Everybody was home, and I think everybody was able to reap the benefits of the COVID boom in construction. The homeowners didn't, because they either had to wait for contractors or pay extra money because everything got so expensive with the
supplies, lumber, all that stuff. Yeah.
It was a good for business. It helped us get more clients, which obviously helped us get more referrals, which is our key to our business.
All right. Really quick, I wanted to go over this. Any insights? The impact of severe weather, right? Hailstorms, snowstorms. I think what we deal with in northeastern and central Pennsylvania. Ultimately, what are some of the flags to look out for after a really nasty one, when people have been like, I don't know, in the next year I need to replace my roof? But if you consistently have bad weather, what are some of the warning signs that you're like, you better pick up the phone and call somebody?
Yeah, I would say if you start seeing, a lot of stuff is just, again, like looking up at your roof and seeing if something doesn't look like it's laying down flat, if it's lifted, if it's missing. Those are huge things, because if one of those key components is missing on your roof, you're going to eventually have a problem. And you could be cutting the grass and just see a little piece of shingle, and that would be a red flag. Be like, where did this come from? And that would be like, now I should go out and really see where this came from. Did it blow from my neighbor's house, or is it actually on my house? And if you're concerned, especially after a heavy rain, maybe you just never had an issue, but this one rain happened to just come in at a weird spot. Maybe it wasn't roof related. Maybe it was a window, whatever. But you should not let it go. Obviously, it came in somewhere, and it should get looked at.
And we were talking, obviously, since you started, you've grown significantly with your business. But like a lot of sometimes contractors, like you're in the industry where roofing, you have a certain window of time throughout the year to do it.
Yeah.
But you decided, I'm going to get creative, kind of play off of my roofing company. People already know your team. They trust you. I think, because I remember when you told me about this, I thought this was a genius idea. You are launching and rolling out in 2023, 2024, a handywoman service, where people can get pictures hung, mirrors hung, whatever. It's called Fixx Me Now with 2 X's. Fixx Me Now, 2X's.com. Why did you say let's do this? Because I think it's great, because so many people can't find somebody who actually show up and do this.
Yeah, that's the thing, is when they call, a lot of people would call our office asking for referrals and doing this stuff. And, I was in the remodeling business, and I didn't really want to get back into it, but I felt like there's such a huge demand for all these like projects around the house that people can't get to, especially like if you have a family that has 4 kids, and 2 are going to this sport in the afternoon, the other 2 are going to dance, and the father and mother can't find enough time to do those things, like hang a flat screen or put patio furniture together, fix a screen, hang a door, maybe
plaster a wall.
Yeah, whatever it might be. Maybe you have, your house is lived in, and you have kids that are banging into things, and you just need it done. And it seems like there's not a lot of people out there that want to do the small stuff. And I thought, if we can, launch it with our own customers and just let them know, hey, do you have anything that needs to be done? Call us up. I mean, we have our team we're starting to grow the Fixx Me brand now over hopefully the next couple months, and be able to have them, utilize our workers and some of our other people that we're bringing in, that would give a good service and do a great job and follow the same platform, like get in and get out. We're going to be here on time, 8:30. We're going to make sure our appointment's met. Get in and do the job the right way, and then pay us when we're done, type of thing.
Because I know when you were rolling this out, you're like, yeah, we can do things like change your doorknobs.
Yeah,
I don't know how to do that, especially when you're
Right.
trying to put all the high tech gadgets in. Your
Right.
team does that, and I have to say, I'll be a testimonial here. I remember when I was moving into a new office space, and I needed walls, plasters, TV hung, and we needed it done like ASAP.
Yeah, one-day job.
Your team came in
Right.
and killed it.
Right.
So I was blown away by that.
And we're not trying to.
And I'm not just saying that because we work together.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
And that's the idea of the company, is we're not trying to get into big square footage jobs. Like I'm not in there to replace all your flooring or, put a big deck on. I'm looking to try to get into all the things like, listen, this one piece of siding fell off, or, we want one replacement, something that just needs to get fixed. So we don't want to live with the homeowner. We just want to help solve a quick problem that they're having, or any type of service they need. I mean, this day and age, you could go in there. I guarantee, you'd have 15 people that want a flat screen hung. It's just little stuff like that. And there's so many people trying to get people to do small stuff, and I think it should be a fun little challenge to get it to go, and I think it'll be a nice service for people in the area.
Maybe that's another tagline for you. We do the small stuff.
Yeah, it's easy.
Just hit me.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, as an entrepreneur and a small business owner, best part of your job, what is it?
I'm gonna say best part of my job is providing for my employees. I really like being able to give back to the employees that are working hard to build a company. I think that's the most satisfying part for me. And then obviously, having your customers say, great job with your team, getting that Google review or whatever. That's a good feeling personally. But I really do enjoy being able to hire somebody and they're looking at it as a career, not a job. Their heart's in it, and that to me and be able to provide a good salary and benefits and a great working environment and flexibility. That to me is pretty cool.
I think I am impressed, and I've always told you this is how you treat your team, right? Like a lot of people on your team have company cars, cell phones, gas car. It's insane.
Yeah, and
I was like, hey, if this doesn't work out, how do I get it?
Well, when you get good people, I want to make sure they're taken care of and their needs are met, and whatever we need to agree on to have that, because my customers are important to me, and I want them to have the best people that I can possibly hire. They're few and far between right now. It's hard to find good help. Anybody in the construction industry will agree with me on that, and I think that's a big part of our business. To help. They all want to help grow, and when they're all goal oriented, that's a strong side.
So that's the best part. What's the most difficult or challenging or worst part of being a entrepreneur, small business owner of this massive company now?
Yeah, you work all the time. You're constantly, this day and age, technology is there, so you're on your phone, and if there's any type of something goes wrong, the owner's getting called, and you need to be there, and yeah, there's some hard days, and you get a big storm that comes through, and you have things booked, and then you got some issues and people are having, managing all that can be challenging at a time, because you're trying to a lot of people have problems, and you're trying to get to everybody. And we do have a large team, but we're not massive. We're not we're all over the country. It's just we cover Northeastern PA, so logistically some days get tough, and sometimes you just have to just deal with it. But that's just part of being an owner. You're gonna constantly have to work and stay involved in your business.
Right. And that's why I always felt like we clicked, because you're totally a hustler, right? But you're not only working nonstop. You also, how many kids now? You have?
4.
You're married. You have 4 kids, 2 twin boys.
Yeah, 2 twins. Yeah. Oh, that's actually probably the hardest thing in my life is 2 twin boys. But yeah, the kids they're a handful. But yeah, and they like to work, so I think that's a good sign. So maybe if they want to, and actually all 4 kids if they want to
Be a part of the company.
Yeah, if they want to. Yeah, I'm not really trying to push them into it. I want them to do their own thing, but the options are available if they choose to.
Yeah, but I think it's super cool. 2015, you were already working in the contracting world, right?
Yeah.
You said, I'm going to start doing this. It's sort of, you turned this side hustle into this business.
Yeah, that's kind of what it was. It's just a little side hustle, yeah.
And you're following your passion and stuff. Super cool. But I do have to say, coming back to why we initially had you on the couch, Mike, from ShingleMeNow.com. ShingleMeNow.com, FixMeNow.com, 2 X's for those home repair jobs in the wintertime.
Yep.
I think what you guys are doing, innovative, creative. Look, you've done roofs on in my neighborhood, and people are like, man, they're quick.
Yeah.
So thanks for being a part of this and sharing some of those tips. And I think
Awesome.
what's cool on your website as well, you have a lot of other like great free facts and information to help people make that decision.
And our social media is kind of unique, and it kind of just shows a little bit more of our team, and not just the standard like
boring roofing stuff.
So
no,
we
cool.
try to liven it up a little bit, and even if you're not in need of a new roof, it's probably worth following us.
Yeah. All right. So thanks so much.
Awesome.
Mike from ShingleMeNow.com
Got it.
out of Hamlin. Thanks for hanging out with us.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, so we tackled all things roofing, but we got to look at your lawn, right? So on the podcast couch now, the one and only Bob Urban from Lawn and Order. How's it going, brother?
Good, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good. Look, I've known you for like 17 years. The great thing about Lawn and Order, let's just get to the name. How did you come up with it?
Well, I still have a great career in law enforcement, so I said, what a good play on words to come up with Law and Order.
I love that. And by the way, Law and Order is like one of my favorite shows. So, all right. And that's how we got to know each other in my last chapter when I worked in television and working with you on all sorts of stories. So let's go right into the landscaping, the lawn, because you are Lawn and Order and you do lawn care and excavating. You're based in Dunmore, but you're like everywhere in Northeastern Pennsylvania. So when people are thinking about just home improvement in general, the lawn is something to pay attention to, but I know not all budgets are the same. And what are your tips? Because sometimes I think people might go all in when they don't need to maybe spend as much.
Yeah, exactly, Ryan. When it comes to landscaping, especially, we do all types of work, whether it's new construction or somebody that just wants to spruce up their house for the curb appeal. Less is more when it comes to landscaping. So
And that's amazing. As you as the owner of the company, you'd think you'd be like, hey, let's put in everything. But you're like, no, you maybe not need all that.
And if you would know yourself, just take a ride around different developers or neighborhoods. You'll see sometimes people put in too many plants. A lot of times when you buy that plant, they're smaller and they don't realize, well, these are going to triple in size. Sometimes you'll see plants that people don't do their research, putting a plant below a window or so forth, and it goes to 10 feet. So these are some of the things that you have to look into. Make sure you maintain that spacing, because nothing is worse than a cluttered landscaping, because then all the money you spent on plants, you're going to be pulling them out to create space for the other ones.
All right, so if people are looking at the outside of their home, maybe they live there for a number of years and they're like, man, I just got to do something, but I don't know what. Where do you begin?
We offer a digital design. So if you know somebody like, a lot of garden centers today will help you out. They'll say, hey, I have this space. What should I put in here? There are a lot of staple type plants that work well and are cost effective in Northeastern Pennsylvania where we live. Hydrangeas is a great one to have, in front of your house. Knockout roses, daylilies, they're all a cheap type of plant and a perennial that'll give you constant color throughout the summer, and they come back next year, and there's generally not too many issues with them.
And let's talk about the seasons in Pennsylvania. Is there certain things you should be tackling around your home during each season that you recommend to keep up on it?
Yeah, when the springtime and fall time, that's your best time to do your maintenance, your pruning, your trimming. You don't want to do any trimming or pruning in the middle of the summer when things are in bloom, because then you're cutting off all your blossoms, and it takes a while for that plant to regenerate and come back.
All right, and the biggest question I'm sure you get all the time, Bob, I got weeds all in my lawn.
Weeds.
How do you take care of it? What are your insider tips?
Well, when it comes to weeds, no matter what type of lawn you have, if you don't properly treat it, you're going to get weeds. We do a lot of commercial and residential lawn mowing also added to our business. And I take notice when you go to different lawns, you could tell right off the bat who does proper fertilization and who doesn't. One house will look like a golf course. The next is, they're like, it's green, I don't care. So it all depends on how much money you want to put into that. So I usually, for your do-it-yourselfer, you can get, Scott's makes fertilizer 3-step program where it tells you exactly how much to use and what to use. And it does work great. But a lot of times, if you want that really nice looking yard, it's better that you would hire a fertilizer service. There's a lot out there that you can look at, just do a search for it and it'll come up with fertilizer services. They know what they're looking for. They'll say, okay, you have grubs, you need nitrogen, in your yard. They'll know exactly, and it takes the guesswork out of it.
That's really cool. I think the thing is coming back to what you said about like one lawn looks like a golf course and one might look okay. The patches that turn up like gold and brown and yellow, which sometimes is caused by dogs just doing their business outside.
Yes.
How do you answer those questions? Because there's a lot of pet owners. I have them as well. And I even noticed too. I'm like, what's with that brown
Yes.
spot? Like, is there anything to fix that?
It is tough. We do, like I said, we do a lot of new construction. We do a lot of sod installation. And the customer will come up to me and they're like, I want this awesome yard when I have 3 dogs behind me, which I have 2 dogs of my own. They're running around and barking. And I said, it is going to be very hard for you with, 3 dogs to have a pristine looking lawn. You kind of have to create a happy medium with that. I always say, you know what, let's try to do a space. We've done this for a couple customers. We're in the backyard. If it's fenced in, we'd put an area where we'd maybe put pea gravel, no pun intended, but for the dogs, get them used to going in that space instead of going in the yard. Because if you do, some dogs' urine is more toxic than others. I've seen some that it's been perfect, and I've seen others that just destroy it. So you'll know what type of animal you have by seeing the spots in your yard. But try to designate an area, even if you have to take. It's better if you have a younger dog, a puppy. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, but take them to that spot and let them do their business there. And that should be a habit for them to go into and to keep out of your yard.
Okay, what's the worst products to use in your landscaping, lawn care in general, where people are doing it, you're like, please stop?
Anytime when you get something in real life anyway, cheaper is not always better. I see a lot of times people will buy weed barrier that they want to put down, and it tears easier than paper. So invest, if you want something to last and look better, invest in the better product. Get that heavy duty weed barrier, that's not going to rip. Put it down. Buy something do your research online. One product, a weed killer, etc., may be better than another, but the one is half the price. Well, why is it half the price? Look at that, do some research on what you're putting down, just so what is the better product.
And in the day and age where everybody's trying to be more eco-friendly, What are your tips for that? Even when it comes all the way down to the lawnmower you're using.
Yes. So when you talk about that lawnmower, I was very skeptical to battery powered and electric. And until I would keep getting texts from my son, oh, the lawnmower won't start. Oh, I'm like, that's it. So I went, got on a battery powered lawnmower. Now I bought a good one, with the big battery. And let me tell you, very impressive.
Is it quiet like those?
Oh, yeah. You and I could have a conversation while we're cutting the grass.
Get out.
It does. Our yard is a decent yard that we have, and then my son does my father-in-law's and my uncle's yard, all in one charge. No problems with it. It's lighter, and I don't think it's up. In my opinion, I would never use it commercially yet, but I'd use it in a pinch if I had to. It's very impressive.
I think the thing coming back to it when people are struggling where to start, if they're just looking to add almost a facelift to their lawn care outside, you helped us at our house.
Yes.
We had a smaller patio and then we extended it. I think it's really cool. Just walk me through. I'm curious about the digital designs and how you kind of lay that out for people when they're like, Bob, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's really neat. Like, when we come in, we'll look at this space. First, we'll ask the customer, like, what are you looking for? How much space do you need? Well, I don't need something that big. But I'm like, listen, by the time you put a grill or whatever you're doing on there, your space that you think is big is not big at all. So we try to walk them through. We'll take pictures of the outside of the house. I'll throw in different designs. I could throw in the patio. I could throw in different plants. That way, the customer sees what it's going to look like before it actually gets done, and gets them that sense, all right, we're going the right direction here, this looks good. And we could take trees out that are already established in there and show them something different. So it's a really cool tool to add to the business.
And I think I love what you said. Don't always go small when it comes to your patio. So I think when you say landscaping, maybe start small, don't go too big.
Yes.
But with your patio, sometimes bigger may be better.
Absolutely.
Because you hit the nail on the head. I was talking to my mom about it when she moved to Northeastern Pennsylvania, and she's putting in a patio, and she mentioned the one size. I go, the minute you put 2 chairs on it, this, and this,
Yep.
I go, where you're going to have no room.
Yep. Then the 2 chairs leads to, oh, I saw this fire pit that I want to put in. This is awesome. Well, that takes up at least 4-foot diameter circle.
Yeah.
It's just always, if you can afford to go a little bigger, go bigger, because it'll definitely be worth it.
What are the hottest trends 2023, 2024 that you think people really are gravitating toward when it comes to their landscaping?
Outdoor spaces, outdoor entertainment, whether it comes to patios, fire pits, definitely. Everybody loves to have a fire pit, we're about a 50-50 split when it comes to that. Sometimes they want the natural gas, so they just set it and forget it. And then a lot of people, even in citywide, they're like, you know what? No, I want to do wood. Me, wood's nice, but I like to just go and flip the switch, so with natural gas. But that's the big thing. Outdoor living spaces, privacy. People, when they're going out, we have so many people that live in developments. When they come outside with their family, whether they're cooking, entertaining, they want to have some sort of privacy. Big thing this year, privacy trees, arborvitaes, et cetera, putting them in, just so people have that little, island in their backyard.
And what I'm impressed by when we talk about people creating their outdoor oasis, you've taken properties, because we visited them when we kind of tagged along with you one time, on a shoot. And when you were visiting a house, you've covered basically when people were over having an outdoor pool, you put in rock walls and stuff. What's some of the most insane projects you've done? Is it basically taking a backyard that maybe had a crumbling pool falling apart and revitalizing the whole thing? Or what was something insane people have asked for?
Yeah, you would be surprised how many people have an in-ground pool and don't want it anymore, and sometimes I have one at my house. I feel the same way. But so what we did, and this was one project, they wanted a nice outdoor living space, but with the pool, it just wasn't happening. So we did a huge retaining wall around. You saw patios, fire pit, and now it's a great place for entertainment. Same thing now. We just have a customer that has a pool in their backyard, but they have a unusable slope. They didn't have any room, so we just did another big wall, added 15 foot around their pool for entertainment, concrete patio, etc.
Any last minute tips for people, whether it's heading into fall, spring, summer, if you're if you're struggling with X, here's where to start.
What I want to say is watering. Watering is very important. When you look into even your plants, when it comes to your house, new installs especially, make sure you water. You have to water. If you don't water, the plants will die.
What's your tip? Always just text it, putting your hand in the soil, or
you can
I've
see
killed so many plants.
Yeah. Certain plants, you will see, especially when you come to I'll just say an Annabelle hydrangea. When you first install those plants, you could actually see if they're not watering, the leaves just, start to shrivel. And then as soon as you water them, it's like you blink your eye and turn your head and boom, they puff right open again. That watering your lawns, we do a lot of people have irrigation, and when you're in a dry period in the summertime, there's nothing that replaces irrigation to keep your lawn looking nice. Do
you guys ever put in the sprinkler systems and
yes,
stuff?
Yes,
we
do. Yeah. But you look into that, but Pennsylvania, water company will love you for it, and you're going to hate it opening up the bill, but it all depends, how you want your lawn to look. It just goes on both sides of the spectrum. You have customers that are like, I don't care, I don't have to mow it. Then other customers is like, I need this to look green. And in the dead summer, July, August, when it's hot and no rain, irrigation is the only way to get that.
Before we wrap up, Lawn and Order, obviously you came up with the name because of your career in law enforcement, but at what point did you say, you know what, I'm going to start a lawn care company? Where did that come from?
Well, ever since I was young, 10, 11 years old, I lived up in northern Wayne County. I mowed a lot of the people's lawns on my street, whether it was aunts of mine, and then it just kind of blossomed from there. And then in 2008, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to try doing this. I'm going to do a retaining wall. I'm going to do this, a little bit of that, and it just ended up blossoming to what it is now.
And you go from that, and then you even added on to it. You kind of started a separate company, a shed company.
Yes.
So sometimes you'll redo people's landscaping lawn, and then they have all this clutter in their garage or wherever, and then you kind of come in and help them rework sort of a pad to put a cool shed on.
Yes.
Yeah, tell me about that then.
Yeah, absolutely. We do so many landscaping projects now that we step in there, And they're like, well, we want to get this done, and then we need to get a shed in our backyard. And I'm like, oh, well, that's great, because my wife and I started LMJ Sheds 2 years ago, named after our kids, Lucas, Molly, and Jackson. And we incorporate those sheds into their landscape in their backyard. 2 that we've just done this year, we've built, again, retaining walls around pools. We've put sheds in there, and they use that as a pool house, bar, etc. So
so we want to point out the sheds you're doing, because I've seen some of the pictures that you guys have posted. They're not just like throw your lawnmower in there. Yeah,
you could do every.
Didn't you guys create a shed to sell ice cream out of?
Yes. That's our next project for next year.
I love that. And what is the easiest way for people to connect with you or find not only Lawn and Order, but the shed company as well?
Yeah, we have both our websites, LMJ Sheds and Lawn and Order. You could just do a search, Google search, whatever comes up to our website, or reach out us on Facebook or Instagram.
And you're literally working 3 jobs.
Yes.
And I have to give a shout out, because the person who keeps you in check, I've known her for many years, is your incredible wife, Jenna.
Yes, she does an awesome job.
Yeah. She keeps you grounded,
Keeps
and
me
she
going.
keeps you organized. Because I know, talking to you over the years, I'm like, how does this guy do it?
Yep.
Right?
I was just getting texts before I got on here. She's like, who do I need to call? Who do I make appointments for?
Yeah.
But yeah, it works well.
All right. Hey, great to see you again.
Awesome, Ryan. Thank you for having me.
And finally, back on the couch with us in the hot seat. I don't even know if we can call it the hot seat, because it's always like 60 degrees or below in the podcast studio here.
Yes, it's
Blaine
perfect.
Povanda, like the organizational guru, I want to say, of Pennsylvania.
Yes.
How you doing?
Amazing. I'm so happy to be here with you.
All right, so you're the third component in this home improvement podcast, and we can't talk about improving your house, your life, without focusing on like decluttering it, right? So I think the biggest question people always probably say to you or hit you with or buzz about is you can't figure out where to start with your house. Everyone's like, oh, this is a mess, this is a mess. So like, what are your pro tips as an organizational guru?
So I recommend starting with small as a drawer or your makeup cabinet. And then you get motivation to tackle larger projects. So start with the smallest little area.
All right, so I want to back up a second too. How did you become like this professional organizational guru, right? Because you've come to my house. I've known friends you've helped like literally revamp their closets, their kitchens, their life. How did you do?
So I've always been an organized person. I was in interior design, and I love organizing. So I was like, why not pull in organizing with my design?
And what
background.
sort of, but what's your flow with it? Like when you do it, do you like to have like, are you like a minimalist? Do you focus on certain storage containers? Like,
so I'm more of a minimalist. So I start with my clients. We declutter everything. So we pull, say for your main closet, we pull everything out, all your clothes, and then we make piles. So discard, donate, keep. We'll make the piles, put everything back, and then I'll set up little systems for like baskets with labels.
And what you do, is it similar to what people have seen on television shows like The Home Edit or Marie Kondo, like when she's all about helping people declutter?
A little bit, but I have like my own little knack of how I do it.
Okay, so what are your hacks or tips, I guess, just when it comes to like tackling a closet, besides pulling stuff out? Like, how do you ultimately make it look like what you do?
Okay, so I tell all my clients, you need to get all the same hangers, and I recommend a certain type of hanger. It's the Amazon non-slip. I love the ivory ones. It makes your hanging items, clothes, look very seamless, and it just really transforms the closet when you have all the same thin hangers.
How do you feel about wire hangers?
I throw them right in the garbage.
I remember when you came to my house and you looked in the closet, you're like, okay, first of all, no more wire hangers.
No.
All right, so that's sort of like the closet tip, but what are some other things you've walked into people's houses and you're like, this is an easy fix, but they're having a meltdown? Is it the garage? Is it like the pantry in the kitchen?
I mean, all my clients there, they just don't know where to start. That's why they hire me. So mainly I feel pantries are a little difficult to organize on your own, but I love decanting everything, keeps everything fresh, cereal.
Okay, what is the difference between sort of a cluttered home, just a little messy, and somebody who's a hoarder?
So cluttered, it's a little messy, disorganized, they can't really find anything, they're overwhelmed, versus a hoarder is more of a psychological disorder, I would say, that they just build up so much they won't get rid of little as papers that are trash, or it doesn't matter of the value of items. They accumulate over the years and years of items.
And how do you approach that with people? I remember when I was watching like Marie Kondo, right?
Yes.
She's doing the organization. She's like, give it thanks. I think that's what her vibe was, right? Like you thank the item for being in your life,
Right.
and then it's time to get rid of it. So when people are almost like borderline hoarders, how do you work with that with clients?
So I don't think I've ever came in contact with someone that had a hard time giving up or donating or discarding items. But if they're really attached to it, I ask them, when was the last, so say for your closet, when was the last time you worn this? And they're like, I can't remember. It's been over a year. I said, well, you're never going to wear it again. So just give it to someone that might appreciate it more. You like don't have it sit in your closet because you're not going to wear it again.
And you mentioned you work with a lot of families, right?
Yes.
Not only in Pennsylvania, but in New York City where you spend a lot of time.
And New Jersey as well.
And New Jersey, right? But for people, say if they live in New York City and they have a small apartment, they're looking to maximize storage space.
Right.
How do you approach that? Especially for people doing like apartment living where they don't have a basement, they can store a lot of stuff. And
Yeah. So I usually for my New York City clients, I switch out their, say, for their winter clothes, vice versa. It just gives them a lot more storage space, as well as we install better systems in their like backstock closets, and it makes it much easier living in a small apartment.
talk about some of those systems. What are your go-to hacks?
I love stackable bins. You could use the height within your space. Usually they're like a higher closet, and they just stack, and it's very customizable and versatile.
All right. So the thing is, if parents are listening to this, their kids have stuff everywhere, and people
Yes.
say, well, I can't be organized. I can't be
That's
uncluttered.
my biggest anxiety when I have kids.
Yeah. But for parents who are like, I
Yeah.
can't be, super organized because my
Right.
house is cluttered because I have kids. Like, how do you help families keep things organized when their kids have a bazillion toys?
So I recommend purging frequently because they accumulate these like little items that, they forget about, but I recommend labeling everything, and it's easier for the kids to know and put away. I mean, depending on the age when they could read, but make it fun with the labels so they know how to put everything away, but definitely purge often.
All right. So
Yeah.
after you've been in there, you've helped people stay organized. What are your tips to help people stay on top of it so they don't like go backwards and have to call somebody like you back to be like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, I messed up? Because I
Yes.
find myself throwing stuff back in the closet that we
Right.
organize, and I'm like,
Right.
wait a minute. We spent a lot of time doing this. So
Yeah.
what are your tips?
So, I mean, if you have a good system in place, for some people it's a little bit easier to put back, but just set your alarm 20 minutes, maybe once a week, just to tidy up the space and put it back how it's supposed to be.
Okay. And if people are listening to this and they're like, she really sounds like she has a lot of good ideas and knows what she's doing, and I
Yes.
don't have the time to do it, how do people connect with you? How do they learn about the stuff that you use day in and day out to help improve their lives?
Yeah, so I will set up a link on my Instagram that you could just hit the link for Amazon, Target, Container Store, and it will all be on my Instagram and my saved stories.
And your Instagram is,
Blaine Povanda,
and spell that for us so we have it right.
BLAINE Povanda.
All right. And
Yes.
before I let you off the hook and any
Yeah.
horror stories doing any organizations or tidying up people's houses?
When I first started, I did free closets all the time. This lady had just a lot of junk in her closet, cat hair. It wasn't nice.
I thought you were going to tell me you found like a dead cat in
No,
the closet. I was
no.
like, oh my gosh. And any upside stories, like you walked in and you're like, why am I here? This closet's
Yes.
impeccable.
One of my clients, I love her. She's my favorite client in the world. She's like, I'm so messy. And it was not terrible, but I helped her out and made it even better.
I love it. And you were born and raised in?
Old Forge, Pennsylvania.
I love it. And now
Yes.
you're working out of Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey.
Yes.
Helping people revamp their lives and
Yes.
get organized.
Yes,
I love it.
I
So
love it.
hit up our girl Blaine. Thanks for
Yes,
being a part of
thank
this little
you.
home improvement podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
You
I
rocked
love
it.
you.
All right, check her out on the IG. And thank you for being a part of this edition of The Ryan Leckey Show. We'll catch you next time.